Welcome back to the channel where we dive into the world of numismatics and uncover the hidden stories behind some of the most fascinating and valuable coins in history. And today's episode will blow your mind because we're talking about a seemingly ordinary coin that turned out to be worth millions. Yes. We're talking about the mysterious and rare 1987 1-cent coin that astonishingly fetched $3 million due to a remarkable combination of minting errors, historical circumstances, and collector frenzy. And while it may sound unbelievable that a penny, a coin most of us casually ignore or toss into a change jar, could become such a prized treasure, once you understand the peculiarities and mistakes behind its creation, the scarcity of its type, and the extreme demand in the collector market, it becomes clear why this little copper-colored coin has captivated numismatists and investors alike. So let's peel back the layers and discover what makes the 1987 1-cent piece such a unicorn in the world of currency, beginning with the complex minting environment of the 1980s, where the U.S. Mint was undergoing transitional phases in its coin production processes, especially in terms of die use, planchet sourcing, and metal composition, as by this time the Mint had already transitioned from the primarily copper Lincoln cents of the pre-1982 era to copper-plated zinc cents due to the rising cost of copper. But during such changes, errors were bound to happen, and in 1987, something extraordinary occurred. Anomalies in the minting process led to the creation of a handful of 1-cent coins that defied standard specifications in ways that were so subtle that most would never notice, yet so dramatic in the eyes of experts and collectors that their value skyrocketed. And among the most glaring issues that contributed to this coin's phenomenal valuation was the use of a transitional planchet. Meaning that although the standard material for cents in 1987 should have been a copper-plated zinc core, some coins were mistakenly struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier years, and this error could only have occurred due to improper clearing of old planchets in the mint's machinery, which is rare and historically significant because it suggests that old materials from previous years somehow remained mixed within the new production cycles. A logistical and quality control oversight that should have been impossible in a system known for precision and redundancy. But as if that weren't enough, the 1987 error cent in question was also struck with misaligned dies, an error that occurs when the upper and lower dies are not correctly centered, causing the design to be off-center and possibly even creating a dramatic visual effect such as partial missing elements of Lincoln's bust or lettering running off the coin's edge, and die alignment issues, while not unheard of, are rarely combined with incorrect planchets and other dramatic flaws in a single coin, but this specimen had more layers to its uniqueness, including double die characteristics on both the obverse and reverse, meaning that during the die creation process, there was an unintentional duplication of design elements, most notably seen in the date, the phrase, "In God We Trust," and even the Lincoln Memorial lines on the reverse, where a strong doubling effect is visible under magnification and sometimes even to the naked eye, and for those unfamiliar, doubled dies are highly prized in numismatics, especially when strong and unambiguous, and in this case, the doubling was categorized as Class V pivoted hub doubling, which is particularly sought after due to the rotational nature of the doubling effect, and this coin also displayed a clipped planchet, essentially a curved indentation where a portion of the metal blank was missing before striking, adding yet another layer of rarity. And clipped planchets are notable because they usually don't make it past the mint's quality control. But the fact that this coin with multiple glaring issues was not only struck but also circulated to the point of discovery is astonishing in itself. And beyond these physical attributes, the provenance of the coin adds mystique as well, as it was first discovered in the late 1990s by a casual collector who noticed the coin felt heavier than normal and looked slightly different in color and design, which prompted a submission to a major grading agency, and the subsequent authentication and grading process revealed all the remarkable anomalies described above, leading to its designation as a mint error of unprecedented complexity and a population of potentially just one known specimen, with experts comparing it to famous coins like the 1943 bronze cent or the 1955 double die cent in terms of significance. And when it finally hit the auction block, a flurry of bidding from collectors, museums, and private investors drove the price up to an astounding $3 million, setting a record for a modern era cent and sparking global interest in the nuances of era coins. And let's not forget the psychological element that fuels such valuations: the idea that a minuscule mistake in a mass production system designed for uniformity could lead to the creation of something so unique that it transcends its original purpose, becoming a symbol of rarity and a trophy for collectors who crave owning something no one else in the world has. And since the sale, the 1987 1-cent era coin has become a legendary case study in the importance of small details, as even now, numismatists search their change and old rolls in the hope of finding another such specimen, checking for weight discrepancies, signs of bronze versus zinc composition, die misalignments, and doubling characteristics. And what this coin teaches us is that the world of coins is not just about denominations or designs but about stories, mistakes, and the improbable intersection of events that create hidden treasures. And while some critics might argue that a penny could never justifiably be worth millions, the counterpoint is that value in numismatics is defined not by face value but by scarcity, demand, and historical context, all of which converge perfectly in this coin's case. And indeed, the odds of another existing are slim given the control improvements at the mint and the public attention now drawn to 1987 cents. But it's not entirely impossible, which is why every collector continues to hunt, fueled by the dream that lightning could strike twice. And when you look at this coin under magnification, you can see the faint but unmistakable doubling on Lincoln's jawline, the elongated and slightly off-center date numerals, and the marginally heavier weight consistent with the pre-1982 copper composition. And these indicators have become a checklist for hopeful searchers who want to identify a potential multimillion-dollar penny in circulation or in inherited coin jars. And perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the 1987 era cent story is that it didn't originate in a sealed mint set or a proof collection but was discovered from ordinary circulation, proving that treasures can hide in plain sight. And this fuels the entire subculture of coin roll hunting and penny hoarding, as people believe they too might stumble across a fortune masked as pocket change. And it also reignites appreciation for coin design and production, where each step, from planchet preparation to die creation and striking, must occur flawlessly to ensure uniformity, and any deviation, while technically a flaw, can paradoxically elevate a coin to legendary status. And this juxtaposition of error and value is what makes coin collecting so endlessly fascinating. So as we conclude today's deep dive into the 1-cent coin that became a multimillion-dollar marvel, remember to keep an eye on the details. Never dismiss the humble penny, and always stay curious, because in the world of numismatics, history, error, and human oversight can come together to create something truly priceless. And just when you think the saga of extraordinary 1987 pennies couldn't get any more intriguing, along comes the astonishing tale of the 1987 1-cent coin, another seemingly ordinary Lincoln cent from Denver Mint that, against all odds, ended up being worth a jaw-dropping $2 million due to a similarly fascinating series of minting errors, production mishaps, and the immense value that numismatists place on ultra-rarity. And what makes this particular coin so fascinating isn't just the monetary figure attached to it, but the complex story behind its creation, its accidental survival, and how a cascade of production anomalies converged in a single specimen to make it one of the most desirable era coins of the modern era. Because while Denver is known for high-volume coin production with minimal era leakage, this particular cent somehow slipped through the cracks, both literally and metaphorically, with flaws so unique and unmistakable that collectors and experts alike were stunned upon its discovery. And to understand the full picture, we need to step back and analyze what happened at the Denver Mint in 1987, a year during which the facility struck billions of coins, including over 4.2 billion 1-cent pieces, which makes the presence of any rare error among them statistically improbable if not nearly impossible. Yet here lies the enigma. A coin that defies statistical likelihood due to a convergence of errors not typically found together, and it begins with the base composition. Like its Philadelphia counterpart, the 1987 cent should have been struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet weighing about 2.5 grams. but this specific coin was found to weigh approximately 3.11 grams, indicative of the older bronze alloy composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a material officially discontinued in 1982. And that immediately raised red flags because number 1987 coins should legally or procedurally be minted with bronze blanks, yet somehow a leftover blank from a previous era found its way into the hopper during production at Denver, and this by itself would have made the coin a notable transitional error, highly collectible and desirable. But the peculiarities of the coin didn't stop there. Incredibly, it also features dramatic mis-striking anomalies, including a broad strike, meaning the coin was struck outside the retaining collar, causing the rim to flatten and expand, resulting in a warped, almost stretched appearance that is completely uncharacteristic of normal minting. And yet, despite the deformation, the coin retains a fully legible date, mint mark, and central design, including a clearly visible Lincoln portrait and partial wheat ear remnants on the reverse, which is odd because 1987 cents should bear the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, and herein lies another twist that numismatists have puzzled over for years. The coin appears to have been struck with a mismatched reverse die, likely from a test or experimental die used in internal mint training or transitional preparation, creating what some speculate might be a hybrid Neal error and Neal errors, where obverse and reverse dies from different coin types or series are mismatched, are among the rarest and most valuable errors in coinage history, often fetching 6 to 7-figure sums due to their extreme scarcity and uniqueness, and this coin's Neal-like properties, combined with a transitional planchet and striking deformities, set the stage for its million-dollar valuation. And let's not overlook the die state either, as advanced microscopic analysis of the coin reveals heavy die polish lines and late die state fatigue indicators, such as die cracks across Lincoln's shoulder and fields around the motto, which suggests the dies used were worn and possibly repurposed beyond their intended lifespan. Another minting no-no that could account for the bizarre anomalies observed on this specimen, and the coin also displays a weak reverse strike, likely due to uneven pressure or an improperly seated die, which has led to speculation that it may have been a test strike or was caught mid-adjustment during production calibration. And adding to the mystique, the coin was not discovered immediately, but surfaced decades later in a private collection from Colorado, stored among hundreds of routine coins and dismissed as junk for years before a sharp-eyed local dealer noticed its unusual tone and weight during a casual appraisal, prompting further inspection and eventual authentication by top-tier grading authorities, who confirmed the presence of a non-standard planchet, significant die anomalies, and alignment mismatches that justified an unprecedented valuation. And once the coin hit the numismatic headlines, word spread quickly, with elite collectors and investment firms engaging in behind-the-scenes negotiations, eventually culminating in a private sale reported at around $2 million. And although the identity of the buyer remains confidential, it's widely believed to be part of an elite collection focused solely on transitional and mint-era rarities, and this sale ignited a renewed interest in 1987 cents, with collectors scouring old penny rolls and mint sets in hopes of finding even a remote cousin to the legendary specimen, though none with similar attributes have yet emerged, reinforcing the belief that this may be a truly unique, one-of-one mint error whose combination of bronze planchet, broad strike, die mismatch, and possible mule status is unlikely to be replicated again. And what's perhaps most captivating about this story is how it exemplifies the perfect storm of error conditions: old blanks being improperly stored and reused, misaligned dies being fitted during high-output production cycles, inadequate die maintenance, and possibly even human error or rushed production goals, all culminating in a single coin that evaded both mechanical and human quality controls, and ended up in the hands of a private citizen rather than being melted down or rejected by automated inspection systems. And this chain of improbable events leading to such extraordinary value showcases the magic and mystery inherent in coin collecting, where everyday objects can contain hidden histories and where imperfection becomes the most desirable attribute of all. And for those who wonder whether more such errors are waiting to be found, experts remain cautiously optimistic, noting that while transitional errors in Neal coins are extremely rare, The complexity and volume of minting operations always leaves room for the unexpected, especially during transitional periods or die design shifts. And so the 1987 D1-cent coin that sold for $2 million not only redefined what a penny could be worth but also rekindled public fascination with era coins, reminding both novice and veteran collectors that treasure sometimes lies where we least expect it, quietly waiting in the folds of history, among forgotten change, tucked in jars or albums, misjudged as mundane until someone with the right knowledge sees past the ordinary and into the extraordinary. Now we move on to one of the most astonishing and mythic finds in the entire history of American coinage, the legendary 1945 1-cent coin that stunned the numismatic world when it was privately sold for a staggering $7 million. And this particular coin's journey from obscurity to global fame represents the perfect storm of historical context, metallurgical mystery, minting anomaly, wartime policy, and extreme rarity, all converging into a single specimen that collectors revere as one of the crown jewels of U.S. numismatics. And to understand why this coin reached such a phenomenal valuation, we have to step back into the final stages of World War II, when the United States Mint, like every other government department, was operating under immense pressure to conserve strategic materials for the war effort, and one of the consequences of this was the shift in coin compositions. Most famously in 1943 when the Lincoln cent was struck in zinc-coated steel rather than the usual bronze alloy in order to reserve copper for ammunition and electrical wiring, but by 1944, the mint returned to copper-based planchets, specifically using recycled brass shell casings from the battlefields of Europe and the Pacific, producing what numismatists call shell case cents. From 1944 to 1946, and these coins had a slightly different composition from pre-war issues, consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc, with the tin component removed. And while that might sound minor, it's a crucial historical marker, as nearly all 1945 cents should conform to that composition and weight. Yet the $7 million 1945 1-cent coin tells a very different story, because when this particular specimen was analyzed, it was discovered to be struck not on the expected brass shell-case planchet but on a leftover 1943 steel planchet. A dramatic and highly unlikely minting error that should have been impossible by that year, and that singular anomaly instantly linked it to the famously rare 1943 copper cents, which were also struck in error but in reverse context. And the 1945 steel cent is even more mysterious because, unlike the 1943 version which involved a known transition from copper to steel, this error happened after the steel planchets should have been completely phased out, meaning that for this coin to exist, a steel blank must have somehow remained in the minting machinery or storage, hidden and forgotten, and then accidentally fed into the striking process 2 years later, creating an off-metal error so rare that to this day, only one known authentic specimen exists, and it's this unique status, the population of one, that elevates the coin into a league of its own, because in numismatics, nothing commands a higher premium than a one-of-a-kind, verifiable mint error from a historically significant period, and to make matters even more astonishing, the coin was discovered not in a sealed collector's set or institutional archive but in pocket change, passed down through generations in a small Midwestern family who had no idea of its true worth until it was brought to a regional coin show in the early 2000s, where a dealer noticed that its color and magnetic properties didn't match standard wartime cents, prompting a metallurgical analysis that confirmed the presence of a steel core, coated in a thin layer of zinc, and the coin weighed 2.7 grams. Consistent with 1943 steel cents but wildly out of place for a 1945 issue. And once this was verified, the coin was submitted to every major grading service in the United States, eventually receiving authentication from both PCGS and NGC as a unique off-metal error, MS64 in grade, with full mint luster and minimal wear, an unbelievable condition for a coin that had apparently circulated, and this MS64 1945 steel cent became the center of a storm of interest, with historians, collectors, and even metallurgists debating how such a coin could possibly exist, and while no definitive documentation has surfaced confirming the mint process that led to its creation, The prevailing theory is that a steel planchet was somehow trapped in a bin or conveyor system used for steel cent production in 1943, overlooked through 1944's transition to brass shell-case planchets, and then finally dislodged during 1945 production, struck with a regular dime meant for copper cents, and then released into circulation without anyone noticing, and that small act of mechanical chance created a piece of living history that is now worth more than most homes, cars, and even luxury assets. And beyond the material anomaly, the coin also features perfectly struck devices, with bold rims, sharp lettering, and clean separation between the portrait of Lincoln and the field, indicating that it was likely struck early in a die's lifespan, perhaps in the first few hundred coins, which only adds to its pristine quality and desirability. And while there have been a few rumors of other similar pieces, none have ever been authenticated, and no second 1945 steel cent has been publicly documented or confirmed, which means that for now, and likely forever, this remains a population of one, the only known 1945 cent struck on a steel planchet, and when it was auctioned in a tightly controlled private transaction brokered by a globally recognized numismatic investment firm. The final price of $7 million shocked even seasoned experts, who noted that the value wasn't just based on the rarity, but on the story, the war-era significance, the alignment of historical and minting anomalies, and the visual perfection of the piece itself, and its existence has since become the stuff of modern numismatic legend, taught in advanced coin seminars, featured in museum exhibits, and even the subject of international news headlines. And perhaps the most poetic aspect of its story is that this multi-million-dollar treasure spent decades nestled in a jar with ordinary change, passed down as a novelty or curiosity, underestimated and misidentified until the right set of eyes, technology, and context brought its true value to light. And that's the magic of coin collecting, the idea that history, metallurgy, policy, and dumb luck can combine to produce something so staggeringly rare and valuable that it redefines what a single cent can represent, not just in currency, but in culture, identity, and legacy. And today, this $7 million 1945 steel cent is considered one of the ultimate dream finds in American numismatics, a white whale for collectors, and a constant reminder that no coin is ever truly ordinary.